War Eagle Auburn family, and welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together, we sit down, and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. We're always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. We appreciate you hanging out with us for a little bit of your hard-earned time, just to spend some time discussing what we love about being part of the Auburn family and talking about the whole of the Auburn experience, as has been the case on every single Wednesday night that we've been doing since the dawn of time at 8 p.m. Eastern time. This is your show, your calls, your comments, your questions. This is a show produced by you, for you. It's basically your show. I'm just here in front of the camera, just try to bring some organization to it all. Your topics, your comments, that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. So we'll be relying on a lot of that from you. Your calls especially. We'll be opening up the phone lines in just a little bit for those of you that want to take advantage of that live now. And my request would be I would like to have some tonight because my voice may not sound all great tonight. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Would very much appreciate a little bit of the reprieve tonight. So your calls would be much appreciated, just to see your smiling faces, but to give my voice a little bit of a reprieve. There's a lot of things going on in the Auburn family spectrum to discuss this week. Obviously, baseball, the regional coming up this weekend, our expectations for that. Some NBA draft news with some players deciding to leave the draft, and officially, even though it's not really big, exciting, like shocking news, players deciding to come back. You know, there's draft predictions now pushing Jabari into the number one spot, which was a lot of us thought about. And then some football discussion things, even in the midst of summer, that there's plenty to discuss. So all of that is fair game. All of that you can choose from and more to discuss, and that is what we're going to do. But before we do all of that, a lot of you already know the drill and are doing it. This is our check-in period right now in the comments section, even on the replay, and whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, right now in the comments section, right where you're watching from, whether you're city and state, international. If you are international, every once in a while we get a few of those with a War Eagle or however like you would to say hello here on the show. This is our check-in period, and make sure you smash the like button because it does help us get a bigger audience, helps us continue to grow our little family within the Auburn family, helps others find us. And you can also do things like retweeting on the social media, or you can share it into a Facebook group or things like that. So those are the things that you can do to help us get our show started off on a good note. Final bit of a little information to get the show started tonight. For those of you that do want to call in, you now have the availability to do so. In the chat link, there is a button, a link that you can click. You can call in and be on camera or off camera, just like a phone call. Your choice. And you can talk to me live, ask questions, just shoot the breeze and talk to each other and to the audience here about what's on your mind. So do take advantage of that, and we'll kind of stop where we're at in conversation to talk to whoever wants to call in this night. And I will have to take a few excuse me, breaks in between just to kind of clear my throat. I am getting over a little bit of a we'll call it a bug. It's not the thing that y'all are thinking of, but still dealing with some after effects of that. But I am much better off than I was on yesterday's impromptu live stream, and I'm also much better than I was at the beginning of the thing, but still not 100% yet. So my voice probably sounds a little bit weak. Corey Benson, Thomas, good to see you. You don't want to see my face. I break mirrors. Corey, they always said that I had a face for podcasting, but yet I still went on YouTube. So don't worry about that. So you can always just call in and not have the camera up if you don't want to break mirrors. Linda, Dusty, good to see you all. A lot of our regular crew already checking in. I appreciate you guys so much for your support. And I want to give a shout out to our Booster Club members, especially. A lot of those are like Linda, like Corey, like Dusty in here. If I missed anybody who's already in here, please do forgive me. But if you are interested, in the description, there's a way to be at least check out the Booster Club. Now's a good time to do it. Patreon.com/E2C Network. For $1 a month or more, there are different tiers. You can help support our content here and get some perks for yourself. So do check that out if you want to. Thank you guys for another month, as we just got started with re-upping y'all's memberships, and we do appreciate your continued patronage via Patreon. All right, I knew Jack was already going to be the one to ask this question, so we're going to talk about it. He was itching to talk about it on the baseball live stream, and I know it was just he's been wondering about it. Did you listen to the first episode of the Huddle Harse? Well, listen, I said this a couple times on other shows or podcasts. The amount of Auburn podcasts that I listen to these days is basically none except our own, because I have to listen to all of ours as the editor. I say that like it's a bad thing. But I do listen to Andy Burcham's because obviously he is a direct source and things like that. And it's not because I don't want to, it's just because I don't have the time to. Now it seems like I might have to try to make time for Coach Harse and Harse Huddle. Was it Huddle with Harse? It's a hard name. Very similar to our No Huddle show, but it's an interesting concept. It's an interesting idea that I can't think of another head coach, at least a prominent one out there, that's doing something like that. So you got to commend Coach Harsin for being innovative on one hand. There's also, it just seems like no matter what things are these days, it could be about the sky being blue. You're going to have a overly vocal minority that just want to stir up trouble and complain about things. And there's people saying, well, you're spending your time to recruiting. Sure. This is also a recruiting tool. Anyway, is it something that I personally as a head coach would have done? Maybe. I am a podcaster after all. But if I were in a different state of life, would I have thought to do this? No, but I appreciate the innovation, and I appreciate the level of openness that the guy is having, especially after what he's been through. No one is going to say that if he is a success or failure here at Auburn that he did not try. Was he trying in the right ways? We'll find out, but he is definitely and certainly trying. Join the Dadgum Booster Club. Well, you can also just join the channel membership program here by hitting join, but I know sometimes a lot of people don't want to like go to a separate thing, which is why I'm going to make it like I have a lot of goals every summer, and I'm going to try to get to some of these year. I want to make some like, not instructional, but like who's here. This is who we are type of videos, but one of those like how you can support us type of things. Because the reason that we do the Patreon, the Booster Club, but also have a channel membership program here is for those of you that want to do both. And we thank you guys so much for doing that. But also those people that just want to do one or the other. Some people find us just through the podcast and they're like, well, I just want to support the podcast. And even though it all goes to the same place, I'm going to just do it through that form. I'm not on YouTube. Those of you that are on YouTube and don't necessarily go to the podcast, that's your place to do that as well. Or you can do both. But yes, that's why we have both of those, and you can join either one of them. They're just as equally appreciated. There's just more on the Booster Club because I have the capability to do some more things on there, general things like that. I guess I'll be going to the plains on a horseback this year. Are you talking about the good old gas prices? Yeah, listen, my goal and my plan is to be in Auburn this weekend. I will not be in the stadium as a media member, but if anybody knows a decently priced ticket out there, let me know. I will be probably in the parking deck and in the outfield making some rounds around, but I plan to be on campus taking in the atmosphere for this weekend. That is if I continue to progress in whatever I've got going on here with my all of this stuff as I cough into the microphone. Linda loves the Harse podcast. I don't think that this is something that they did lightly. I do think they did probably some, internal research to see how they could pull it off, how it would be low maintenance, low production for Coach Harsin especially, and so they could maintain it, because this is definitely not something everybody's got a podcast these days. I'm one of them, obviously, but excuse me. I see we have one caller. We'll get to you in just a second. It just seems like everybody's got a podcast these days, and everybody has ended a podcast. My biggest selling point to a lot of people is that we've been doing this. Myself and the others that have been involved have been doing this for 8 years. It's very easy to start. It's not easy. It's easy to start one, but it's also hard to maintain one. And not to say that's going to happen with Coach Harsin, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a one and done thing, especially when we get into football season. All right, let's talk to our first caller tonight. You have heard him on here before. If I can get it to come up. Uh-oh. There he goes. Mr. Thomas, how you doing, sir?
Good. How are y'all this evening? War Eagle.
War Eagle, what's on your mind, sir?
Man, as we last time, football nerd, self-admitted.
Yeah.
I
Give
took
me some
most of my
information.
yeah, took most of my day off and started position breakdowns in my notebook just because there's no college football. I got nothing else to do.
Right.
I started my own position breakdowns and I don't know. I got a lot of stuff. I got about 4 pages so far.
Wow, you are a football nerd, sir.
I can't help it. I really can't.
And there are worse addictions to have. But what are you picking up in this notebook that you've already assembled?
And I guess page one is quarterbacks. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So
And what are you breaking down in there? Like what is your assessment of what we're working with, and what do you think that's going to mean when we get to game one?
if the season started tomorrow, Finley's our starter.
Right.
There's no other option. It is what it is. But after fall camp, I don't. If he's not the starter, I think he transfers. I really do.
Yeah. Um, I guess my one question on that front would be, he would have to sit out if I've done my math correctly with the whole he's done his one-time transfer, not sit out situation. He would be is he a junior or a senior now? He'd be a junior.
Correct.
So that means that the man will have been in college for what, 6 years, it feels like now. So if he sits out another year to go and potentially be a starter somewhere else, I mean, if that's his route to success, then by all means. But there is a small part of me that kind of wants the TJ Finley story to work out. And this is coming from a guy that was preaching up and down that Bo needed to start over TJ every day and twice on Sunday. But now I find myself in the interesting camp of I'm kind of rooting for TJ just to shut some people up. But I want whoever is best for Auburn. If that's TJ, great. If that's Robbie, great. If it's Sawyer Pate, great. But I think even Sawyer's like, please don't wish that on me.
Yeah, yeah. That'd be a ton to take on for him. But I guess you got upside with Finley. He's got starts. He's been thrown in the fire. He's been thrown in the fire at Auburn.
Right.
He's been thrown in the fire at LSU. He didn't really put on a strong spring, so it kind of comes down. It's up to him to win or lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And he knows it, and he's going to compete for it. That's the kind of guy he is. And I'm interested to see where it goes at the end of fall camp or going into the first game.
Has what you've seen from Calzada at Texas A&M, is it impressive enough if he comes in and does the exact same as TJ Finley? Let's just say there's no standout between the two of them in fall practice. Do you still start TJ or do you start Zach Calzada? Where does your mind go on that?
No, if it's the exact same across the board, you go with Finley. He knows the playbook, been there longer. Calzada may have an upside with just technique overall, the way he places his feet when he throws. He doesn't really have Finley's kind of got a hitch before he throws. It's a telltale sign. I think Calzada's better in the pocket. Finley's good in the pocket, but when you move, he's 6'7", 250. That's a lot of momentum to stop and plant and throw. Calzada's 4', 210, 212, give or take. It's a little easier for him to move, set those feet, make a quick movement, and throw the ball.
Right.
So it really comes down to what they do over the summer working with receivers, timing, and then when they get the opportunity to work with the line, who's more comfortable with who in the pocket? The line's going to have to know how that quarterback moves. Are they more comfortable with Finley? Are they more comfortable with Calzada? And I do believe there's going to be a package for Ashford. With his athletic ability and his mobility and just overall talent, there's a run pass option just waiting to happen. But he doesn't have any real meaningful college snaps yet. So if he's going to get them, let's get them early and let's get them often.
Here's one thing I don't worry about this year, and that's provided that people don't leave, as you suggested might happen, if we don't see TJ getting a start coming out of fall practice. We have depth that we haven't had in quite some time. And, there's many years, one of last year including, actually, I shouldn't say the year before that, where we wonder what happens when number one goes down. This is, it's kind of one of those scenarios where even though someone hasn't separated themselves, you kind of know that if it's Zach, if it's TJ, if it's Robbie, if it's Holden Geriner, you seem to have, based off of spring performances, 4 capable quarterbacks that can step in and do something and have the respect and the allowance of the head coaches to go out there and put on a show, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I do think it is a TJ Finley, Zach Calzada situation. I think the betting money is Zach Calzada, but there is the gambler in me and the person that likes to just see the underdog story is now kind of rooting for TJ Finley, just because I think part of me too loves chaos, and I know that just would cause chaos.
Auburn quarterbacks are chaos, though. That's
gosh.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I've been a fan, it's been chaos at quarterback.
When's the last time we had no chaos at quarterback? Can you think of a time like I'm talking more than 2 seasons? When was that?
More than 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Brandon Cox is who I'm thinking of.
Maybe Brandon Cox, because I watched him play in high school when he was before he went to Auburn and going, you know what, the dude's all right. Let's find out. And it worked out all right for us. I had no problems with that era. That was the Tuberville era.
Right. I think Brandon Cox, if he had that medical issue that kept him from I'm not doing justice to explaining it. So please forgive me for those of you that may be afflicted with that, but something about his medication didn't start kicking in until so much in the day. And so day games, you could clear see a drop off, but then you'd see like that Georgia night game where he just like throws a dart 4th and 17, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then wins the game. If
Taylor was lethal.
It was
great to watch.
It'd be nice. It would be nice though if we could find a guy. Here's the great. If it's not TJ Finley, you got to think you're going to at least have 2 years with Zach Calzada. But if we do go the route of a Robbie Ashford, if by some stretch of the imagination we go with a Holden Geriner, you got to hope and believe that that's going to be a long tenured quarterback. And personally, that's what I long for Auburn is at least 3 years of a quarterback to get a stable built up behind it. That's what you see happen at Alabama. And it's not just at quarterback for them. It's at all the positions, really. They've got they established their group of guys and made them solid all the way across and then gave themselves the time to build the stable behind the stable, behind the stable, behind the stable. And so every year it just feels like reload, as opposed to Auburn loses Bo Nix. What do we do now? So
right. But I think we're at the point of building depth. We're not there yet by any stretch, but if there was a clear starter, you don't bring in 2 more quarterbacks.
Right.
So they're building competition and they're building depth, which is what every team needs to have the next man up. The guy that wants it so bad, he's worked so hard, but he was that close. He's ready to play for anybody else in the country, but he was that close to being the starting quarterback at Auburn. When you get that kind of depth, it's going to pay off. We're not there yet, though. But let me ask you this. So if Finley transfers out, does Geriner take a red shirt or not? Or does he play a couple of games junk time early and then take the red shirt rule?
I think it would be wise, as long as the situation is correct, for everybody to use those 4 games if you can. That's experience that's allowed to you. So regardless, get them in if you can. If they're not ready, don't throw them out there and get hurt. But in that scenario, I would say it's highly likely that you'd see Geriner in the right situation thrown out there for at least the 4 games. I think they'll do everything in their power to keep him from burning eligibility this year. If we have a cataclysmic, injury bug, then that kind of throws out the window. But I don't think TJ going or coming, or whoever going and coming, I don't think determines his eligibility. It's really the injuries happening at the quarterback position that's going to determine that.
I can agree with it. I can agree with it.
So what else you got in that book for us? Are you going to have like a whole spreadsheet for us next week?
Man, as long as you don't ask me about linebacker right now, I'm good. I hadn't finished the linebackers yet.
Here, well, give me a quick. Maybe we can talk about running backs a little bit more in depth next week. But preview me what you've broken down on running backs.
For running backs, all right. Some tendencies for Tank. we know how good he is. We know how good he can be, but he has some tendencies that kind of depend on the offensive line's blocking. But there were a couple of times last year that outside was not the right decision.
Right.
Maybe if we're going to go downhill, let's go in between the tackles. Let's hit the A gap. I mean, that's where grown men are made, is in the A gap. Why not? He's good enough to do that. So that's kind of a preview with that. Jarquez has got it. Let's talk about health, longevity, and maybe just some overall movements and flexibility within the position as far as the passing game goes.
I love it. Yeah, I love that. Let's save that for next week because I think that's a good point to bring up. You do some more thinking on that and jotting down in that old notebook that you got working up there. I love guys that are students of the game, no matter what the game is, and appreciate the ins and outs of everything. So I love it, Thomas.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks for calling.
Let's go hashtag E2C for life, guys. Have a good night.
Appreciate it, Thomas. Thank you. Warrior, buddy. All right, that was Thomas, our first caller tonight. Thank you to him for calling in. As you can tell, my voice is already trying to give out of me. I'm not going to let it happen, though. Anyway, if you guys would like to call in, just like Thomas did, it can be on camera, off camera. It doesn't matter. But you can take advantage of that link up there. If you need me to put it back into the chat, so you don't have to go search all the way up to let me know, I can do that for you. But it should be pinned up there. Jason Campbell was the last stable quarterback. I think, I don't know, that's a little bit later or earlier in our conversation, but I think Brandon Cox probably was the most stable in terms of there was no one else really fighting to take the job from him. Jason had to deal with Daniel Cobb, Brandon Cox coming in, so I think Jason Campbell is a good runner-up in that conversation. Ben Leard had to deal with some of that. There's not been very longevity-driven quarterbacks in Auburn's recent history. Bo is probably one of those, but we all know the story with that. So there you go. Let's see here. We kind of talked about this, but I'm trying to catch up with some of these comments. Do you think Calzada's full on in practice? What are your thoughts? Do you think he'll be the man? I tend to agree still with excuse me. I tend to agree with Thomas that right now everyone should expect TJ to be the starter until he can come in and prove that is completely healed. That is not going to be an issue, and that he's the better quarterback. TJ is still the guy until someone takes the job from him. Linda says they don't think TJ is mobile enough. Well, that's the great thing about having an offseason. You get time to drop some weight, get a little bit more agility to you, work on some of those things. The hitch that he was talking about in the throw, I started noticing that for real in person at the bowl game, and it's hard to unsee it. And if we see it, he sees it. The coaches see it, and they're working on those things. So if you're concerned about those things, it doesn't mean that they're going to go all the way away, but they're trying to alleviate some of those problems. Carrie, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Harsin is known for his pro-style quarterbacks, not dual threats, so it'll be interesting to see which direction he goes. I think Coach Harsin will go whichever the way gets him the most success and the fastest, because the man needs that for his own state of mind, but us as well. I don't ever see Harsin playing a running quarterback. Well, that was Bo to some degree, so that kind of proved that one, that he's willing to do that at least. We need to get our version of Forrest Gump on the team. That's funny. What about a 2-quarterback system? Possible? It's always possible. Is it a smart decision? No. The only time that a 2-quarterback system has worked and was going to be successful was in my flag football team, which to this day I'm bitter about. I've told this story before. It was at Auburn. And I came up with basically the read option in flag football, and it also include throwing as well in the read option. And basically it was unstoppable. Like they the whole season, they wouldn't believe me that it would work. And finally let me go out there and run it. In the first drive, we scored a touchdown. Second drive, scored a touchdown. And then they were like, they didn't want me to be wrong or right about that. So they just said, nah, that's good. You tried to call in on YouTube. I did see you pop up for half a second, Jack. It's internet's kind of a weird thing. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So just keep trying, sir. I feel like we had problems last time you tried to call in too. It's not that you're not the only one that runs into those issues, but internet just is as great as technology is. It's also a bit of a burden too. Calzada is full pads for summer practice. We have to wait till fall practice, I think is what Corey's trying to say there. I think obviously when fall practice starts, everything's on the table. Every position's open. But there's clear delineations in certain positions where certain elements take over. Seniority, experience, and quarterback is definitely one of those. And so TJ will have a leg up. I think the leg up got a lot shorter for him based off of the spring performance, but he will still have the advantage. Somebody will have to take the job from him. And if they take the job from him, that should encourage you. Do I think Jeffrey Imba will be good? Well, I think everybody will be good. So yes, the guy looks the part. He seems to be quite a beast. Jeffrey Imba to me feels a lot like a Carl Lawson type of story where he's a phenom coming in, had a decent first year and then kind of would be brought in and slowly become the guy. So if that kind of answers your question. All right, we're going to get Jack in here, see if his internet's working. There he is. Jack, what's going on?
Hey, Kyle. How's it going?
Hey, man. Good to hear you. I'm sorry that YouTube problem got you at the start of that.
No, you're good. I want to talk about something that I haven't noticed necessarily on this channel, but mostly just around the whole fan base is we struggle to trust in our coaches from our previous few regimes going back to Tuberville. I mean, we don't trust them to actually develop a quarterback. So I did some digging last night because I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to look at the statistics year to year.
Mm-hmm.
So we had Malzahn for 8 years.
Right.
Over those years, all of his quarterbacks, I'm not including transfers because in my opinion, you don't really develop a transfer, especially in a case of Nick Marshall. Stidham more so because Stidham was more of a passer, but Marshall is just a freak athlete. But I did just do high school quarterbacks that actually played. Over the 8 years, Auburn had 58.8% completion rating, 6,322 yards, and a touchdown ratio of 1.77. For example, that's I have it right here: 39 touchdowns to 22 interceptions.
Okay.
Over the 8 years that Gus was coach, that's what high school quarterbacks he recruited actually put out onto the field.
Yeah.
All right. So I did some research on Harson's background on high school recruits and how they did in his system. Overall, we had 4 years of transfer quarterbacks, and Harson only had 6 games of transfer quarterbacks. Wow. So obviously he has an ability to, rely on himself and not outside sources, which obviously he's gotten 3 transfer quarterbacks already here. So that might change, but over his 7 years, 63.2% completion rating, 16,604 yards, and a 2.8 touchdown ratio, 105 touchdowns to 37 interceptions. And I just want to say, it doesn't matter if it's Calzada, it doesn't matter if it's Finley, it doesn't matter if it's Ashford or Garner, or, if D. Davis was still here, I don't think it would matter. He's going to get you right. That's the thing about Gus is, over year, Bo's freshman season, we said, all right, he's a freshman, he'll do better. His completion percentage barely went up 2 points. He had less yards, he has less touchdowns and more interceptions. Now, I'm not ragging on Gus. I love the guy.
No. I love the stats that you're pulling out, by the way. I appreciate you guys when you and Thomas and everybody else that does this, when y'all do digging like this, it tells me that you've done your research.
Yeah, I'm a huge analytics junkie. I mean, I'm a business major. Like,
there you go.
Feed me the statistics, you know.
Feed it to him, baby.
Yeah. I think we've come to this sort of normal feeling of, all right, we get, for instance, Bo was a 5-star. We get this 5-star quarterback, and we hope for so much, and it didn't come out on the field. And like I said, Bo's completion percentage barely went up 2 points. He averaged less yards, had less touchdowns, more interceptions in year 2 under Gus. And yeah, he had a smaller sample size in year 3 under Harsin, but I mean, he averaged almost the same amount of yards. Let's see how much a difference this is. 180 yards less than he had in year 2 under Gus. He had 2,295, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a 61% completion rating. I mean, that right there should show you that Harsin can at least get a little bit better out of him. Like, I mean,
yep.
I just don't get where fans come from and say, just because our last regime where we did stuff drastically different, we ran a completely different system where, I mean, the completion percentage, in my opinion, is the most important statistic among any quarterback. Because if you're not getting the ball to your receiver, hitting them where it needs to be, you're not going to move down the field well.
The only thing that I would add to the completion, I agree with you. Obviously, that's the most important thing for a quarterback. Obviously, if you're not completing passes, you're not moving the ball, you're not scoring touchdowns, right? That makes sense. The problem is, though, is there's so much that goes into a completion percentage other than just what the quarterback does. And I don't think that you're purposely negating that in any way. And I think that's why when we compare these statistics, it's so hard to actually make a definitive statements, because when we talk about completion percentages, we're mainly speaking about the quarterbacks, and we're not talking about, until I'm blue in the face, the offensive line, and we're not talking about the wide receivers not doing their jobs either, because the quarterback can deliver the most beautiful pass in the world, but if he can't remain on his feet, and if he can't have the wide receivers catch the ball, completion percentage is going to drop down. Now, but to your point, so you're saying that is there a narrative that people believe that Harsin's not going to develop quarterbacks here? Is that what you're hearing?
I mean, at the beginning, when he was hired, I heard, oh, I can't wait for, the whole Bo for Heisman, like Bo's a dark horse for Heisman, like meme type thing at the beginning of when spring ball happened last year.
Right.
And then I don't know if it's just been in a few places, because I go to On3 and 247, and obviously there's a ton of message boards there, and I've noticed in the message boards, people they have this notion that no matter what happens, no matter who the quarterback is, no matter who the coach is, that Auburn will never have top tier quarterback talent and never have top tier production, and it just baffles me, because right here there's stats that prove year over year, Harsin's quarterbacks, their completion percentage stayed around the same. They averaged more yards, they averaged more touchdowns to less interceptions.
Yeah.
And guaranteed, like you said, there's some other factors. There's the defenses you face, there's the wide receivers that you have, and there's the offensive line that protects you. Man. But, as you can see from just, if you look from 2020 to now, those same offensive linemen that Gus had have bulked up 30, 40 pounds. Like, they've gotten to a position where they can run block better, hopefully, this year. And we didn't have the worst pass protection last year. We were 4th in the SEC in pass protection.
It definitely got a lot better. I hope I say that enough. As much as I've criticized the offensive line as a whole, I've tried to make sure I say that they did get better at pass blocking. Not leaps and bounds, but good enough to see that we could all see the improvement, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but I've heard from a few of my contacts who are on the football team and from the Locked On podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Killian Zaire has been just a tremendous upgrade, and he has improved tremendously over the spring. I think he's gained around 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Too.
And I think he was battling injuries as well, as many of our guys were, which has kind of kept him back a little bit. If I have him right in my head, because so many of our offensive linemen have battled injuries over their careers here. But yeah, I have heard similar things as well, about a breath of fresh air that he's been. And frankly, that's what's been needed with the offensive lines, because it's been the same guys, different rotations of them, not as individuals necessarily, but as a unit, not getting the job done. And so having a little bit of fresh blood in there to say, you better step up or I'm going to take your job. It's the same thing we were talking about with quarterbacks, right? Competition makes everybody better. So if a backup, as of this point, that Killian may or may not be, is starting to push those guys to be better, either we get Killian who's better or he pushes them to be better. So I hear those similar things. And I think my hope is that I'm going to be sitting here in what is this, June 1st. So in 4 months' time, we'll be in October, that I'm going to be sitting there eating crow about what I've said about the offensive line for the last 2 years and be like, I don't ever know how I could have doubted these guys,
I hope we all feel that way.
Right.
I mean,
that's what I hope for.
I mean, by October 1st, I hope whoever's the quarterback has, 62, 63, 64% completion rating. And then Tank is averaging 120 a game with like 2 touchdowns in each game. That would be ideal. But Penn State and LSU were in the way of that. So
yeah, they were. All right. Real quick, you got any last minute comments or questions?
I've got a comment.
Yeah.
Anyone who says, I've seen this on the boards too. Anyone who says San Jose State is going to be a problem is not an Auburn fan.
San Jose State for a while was one of those teams that had a pretty decent offense. And frankly, I just don't care enough to follow them unless they're playing Auburn. So I don't know what their coaching staff, their scheme is like now, but I do remember them being somewhat of I won't call it formidable, but you need to take them seriously type of offense the last time they came around, and we did just fine with them. So yeah, frankly, anyone that's not anticipating 5-0, and that's with a game against LSU, Missouri, and Penn State in there with a home stretch. Will we lose a game? Maybe, but it's highly possible and highly likely that Auburn has the talent and the momentum behind them to go 5-0 in that home stretch to start off the game. So if there's people seriously questioning that we're gonna right now what we know lose to San Jose State, I would agree with you. They're probably just wanting a reaction.
Yeah.
All
right. War Eagle, Kyle.
All right, Jack. Thank you for calling in, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, man. Talk to you later. All right, great. Carrie, I saw that you were trying to call in, sir. So if you'd like to do that, please do so. Anybody else as well. But I'll probably give Carrie the priority since he was trying a little bit earlier. But great to hear from Jack, from Thomas so far. You guys have been doing a good job of letting me take a break from the voice, which I very much appreciate. I love talking and sharing my opinions, but hearing you guys is what this is all about. Let's see here. I'm trying to make sure we don't miss any of these other things. Pass block did get better. Got to correct the run blocking to be consistent. Absolutely, we do. Rob hopes Tank has a better year, saying the run block is fixed, but I'm not. But you're holding your breath. Carrie, I want Ashford to be quarterback. Calzada quarterback 2. Calzada quarterback 1. TJ can be quarterback 3. He can be quarterback 3. I'm sure he feels differently though. There's a big movement and a big fan favorite in Robbie Ashford's camp. And listen, I'm all for it. I don't care who plays quarterback as long as they're what's best for Auburn. I would have said the same thing last year with Bo, but Bo was always the better choice than TJ was at the time compared to where they were at. If we compare TJ now, a year's worth of improvement versus Bo where he was, then we may have a different story. I don't know that, but we'll never know that actually. Coach Harsin beat San Jose State in the MAC championship in his last game at Boise. Yeah, but that doesn't really factor anything here. But at least he has experience playing them. I guess that's maybe what you're trying to say on Beaten Lake is that he's got experience. Yes, but has their regime changed? Has their scheme changed in that time? I don't know. He's been gone for 2 years. Yes, Carrie, you can call in, so please do. The lines are open right now, and I'll give you the priority if someone else calls in. Excuse me, right now. I was sick last week. Everybody's sick these last couple of weeks, and most of it's not the big one. You know, I think everybody's finally just moving around, and all the typical yearly stuff is starting to get into people's systems. You know, which is probably what I've been dealing with too. Aaron Rodgers played under Keys at Cal. I think development is absolutely taking place. The one thing, Linda, I will say is development requires time. And so we're not going to have a full picture of can Harsin develop quarterbacks here until several seasons down the line. You're going to have to, I'm not saying you, Linda, I think you know that, but like just in general, that type of comment that I see a lot of times is we can't assume that development is going to take place the way it needs to take place until time passes. And it requires patience, which is the hardest thing for sports fans to do. I say that as one of the worst ones. If we go 6-0, the drinks are on me. Well, it's possible. Likely? That's possible. Do you think we'll beat Mercer in week 1? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My plan every year is to be at every Auburn home game. Now, with 5 straight home games, there is probably going to be, I don't want to rule it out, but I'm probably going to take that second week off and stay home just because of being back to back with gas prices, and it will be about the same time as my wife's birthday. So that will probably be the time that I spend with her for being so gracious to let me travel every weekend in the fall. But yes, the rule of thumb is if Auburn has a home game, Kyle will be on campus sharing the experience with you all, much like I plan to do this weekend if my health continues to improve and I have the energy to do so. Even if I'm not in the stadium, I'm going to probably be up there in the parking deck in one of the levels or on the outside field. If anybody has a ticket, let me know. That's cheap. I can't. Oh, those ticket prices, man. Let's see here. Who do you think was a better for Auburn, Cam Newton or Bo Jackson? Wow. Well, Bo was here longer, had a bigger impact across sports than Cam. Cam did bring us an SEC championship and a national title and a Heisman Trophy. Bo only brought us 2 of those things. Should have brought us the 3rd. That wasn't his fault, though. I think, as easy as it is to say Cam was better for Auburn, I think Bo is always going to, and I think Cam would understand that too. Bo is always going to be more important for Auburn. And if you dig into the story of how he chose to be here and how he and Auburn match up, it just, yeah, that's a better thing, better story there. My birthday is May 27th, so it just passed. I am now 35 years old. I know you can tell by the hairline. But yes, I do. We were gone this weekend on a vacation, which we celebrated my birthday, and I had too much fun. Apparently, that's why I'm sick. Yes, Carrie. So one of the things that I want to try to do this year is make it very prevalent that we're going to be. I keep knocking the camera around. I'm sorry, guys. I just know I tried to move this back. I don't want to move my system around too much because it may like disconnect things. So I'm gonna try to knock the camera less. Anyway, I'm always going to say we're going to have a blanket statement before Tiger Walk at the Tiger Walk banner, which is the unofficial official start of it. I will be right there on the right or the left with a camera set up to live stream for everybody. So we did it during A-Day, and Linda, Dusty, Gray from our Inside the Jungle show, he showed up. We had a bunch of others as well. And so we're going to do something similar to that this year. But I'd like to do something else. Like maybe we set up a time. If it works out well, we go grab lunch and do some things like that. So this is, when the reason I want us to be different here on the E2C network is that we're not just a bunch of media people. We're just part of the family, and we want to act like it. And not that people gotta be careful these days. People get all offended if you say things the wrong way. I'm not saying anybody else isn't like that, but we just want to make sure we're really about that. All right, Russell, how you doing, sir? Woo, we got a silhouette. I can barely see you there, but it's a beautiful background you got, sir.
Yeah, that's better for the audience. A better background on his face.
I'm not gonna lie, that is a nice background though. So if that's what I get instead of seeing your face, I'm good. I'm kidding.
That's why I sat here. So none of this and all of this is projected. Yeah.
What's on your how are you doing, and what's on your mind tonight?
Tell me that God don't love Auburn. Look at orange and blue. Come on now.
I know. The orange isn't really coming through on my screen, but I can imagine what it looks like there. Where are you roughly right now, like location?
Birmingham area. Yeah.
Not too far away from those, golden orange sunsets of Auburn.
Yes, it's usually it's a little bit more orange than it is tonight, but I've been meaning to time it right. So now is a good time, about the 7:30, 7:45 to get a good sunset, but it was a little more orange a minute ago. But anyway, just to liven up the audience, there's some catfish food. Maybe I see some big catfish out there.
People get a little bit something different to look at other than me.
Right, yeah. Exactly. I don't want them to look at my face. I mean, good grief, come on now. Yeah, wanted to see you, buddy. I've been meaning to call in and hadn't had a chance here of late, but I hope you get to feeling better. And how was your vacation? How did it treat you? Your vacation?
The vacation was great. I didn't get sick until like the day after we arrived back home, which is why I don't think I got it on vacation. I think it was actually at the Chick-fil-A about an hour and a half from us arriving at home. If I'm timing things out, when you typically get sick, if you get infected with something. So I'm, no offense, Chick-fil-A, but it's the one time you did me wrong.
I know. Usually they're pretty on spot on time. I love their peach shakes. By the way, they're coming out as one of the best things ever put on this planet. Thank the good Lord. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah, Jessica, my wife loves those. She can't stop talking about them.
Yes. All right. They need to sponsor you now just for that right there.
I've tried, believe me. I've had conversations with Chick-fil-A folks, but it's hard to get them to do anything outside of official, sports type of stuff.
That's top notch right there, baby.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's good to see you, man. I hadn't seen you in a while, and I hope you and the family are doing well. And happy late birthday. I just had one May the 3rd, so I'm right behind you.
Well, belated birthday to you as well. So
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Blessed with each day we get, so we need to take them with what we get and enjoy them to the fullest.
Absolutely. We're not promised tomorrow. That's right. So yeah, we're blessed for today. But yeah, glad to see you getting a little bit better. You sound much better than you did on your video from yesterday.
I knew it was going to be rough, but I was like, you know what? I need to push the limits of my voice and see what I can do, so I know for tomorrow. And it's fine right now. There's a couple times you can probably tell where it kind of fades off, and I'm having to take a sip of something, but it's much better.
Yeah, I wanted to try to call in specifically tonight because I know it helps your voice out a little bit, but I'm waiting for Dusty to call in too. He's due, and I thought I heard yesterday something briefly about you had a baseball interview with him. Is that right?
Yeah. So Dusty and I, he's been on a couple of times. He wanted to do a kind of recap of the regular season and what it means leading into the postseason, and so we just did one. Last night, and it went live today, so you can listen here on YouTube. It's out now on there, but it's also out on the traditional podcast format. But it's, I think it's titled "How Auburn Baseball's Regular Season Informs Its Postseason." I think is the title.
Nice. Okay, I need to take a listen to that.
You do. Dusty knows his stuff, and that's one of I gave Dusty this comment, this compliment that, and I hope if any of my other podcast and people that are here listening don't take offense to this, but he's one of the few people that the first time he got on a microphone that I didn't really have to coach all that much. And it's not a reflection on him either. It was shocking. Like it's like, how did you know how to handle yourself in front of a microphone? So he, for being, and I mean this with all the love, amateur, and I've said that to him too, and I am as well. He handles himself pretty well in front of the podcast microphone.
He's the most professional amateur I've ever heard. He's a natural. My goodness, he is. I'm waiting for a guest spot for him. And he can do baseball, and I'll try to join in and chatter on football, because once I get started, I won't shut up. I just ramble and go from tangent to tangent and tangent. And that's why I love calling in, because I usually don't have anything specific unless somebody's trying to fire Harsin for lies or something like that. Then I have to call in.
Let's not do that again. Let's not do that again.
I'm just thankful. Yeah, I'd mentioned I was talking yesterday when I called in the other podcast about how this year I don't think people are really anticipating how they're gonna the chemistry this year is just, I was trying to say, it almost feels a little bit Tuberville-esque when the team came together. And I'm not saying we'll go undefeated, but it really feels like, like I'm hearing it from within, and it doesn't seem like just words. Of course, people are going to say that to try to get a little positive spin, but it actually, like, you're hearing the team leaders say it, and they don't have to say those things. And the fact that all those fifth-year seniors have come back, and even seniors that left, some of the stuff that they said and didn't have to, that spoke volumes about how the cancer was removed. And
if you think about it too, you and I appreciate this from the Bible, the analogy of iron forged through fire, and that people forget that part. It has to go through fire, to actually be forged into something stronger. And that doesn't mean necessarily getting rid of people or things like that. That happens. It happened this year. But sometimes it's those feelings, those expectations, those things that weren't productive, that were going on or weren't going on, but you went through the fire as a team, and you come out stronger as a piece of iron at the end of that. And how strong that iron is will be tested this fall.
That's right. Week 3, we'll get our first test. Hopefully not week 2. Everybody keeps talking about San Jose State. They're just looking for all the negatives they can right now. Said something like San Jose State beat Boise State at Harsin. It's totally different leagues, teams, players. Like, everything's different. That's why I was trying to talk to somebody about Malik Willis. I love the guy, but everybody was saying, oh, his stats here compared to Bo's and this, that, and there. I was like, you have to understand, the guy is extremely talented, but it's a whole separate level of competition, and it's hard to compare straight up fact numbers to numbers. And I hope Malik proves me wrong. And I just didn't think he was going to be great for the NFL unless they have a good running attack with the quarterback, because his accuracy is what concerned me, his throwing accuracy. But anyway, I hope he proves me wrong, and I hope he does great. Sorry, I got out. See, there I go again. I got a tangent.
It's all right. You do have a question for you. Is that a lake behind you, Linda asked?
It sure is. It sure is. Let me just show the lake. I don't need to see.
That's actually a pretty nice shot. Now we can see the reflection in the water.
Yeah, as long as you can hear me and you don't have to look at my face, I'm good.
What lake is that?
This is Coleman Lake.
Coleman Lake, okay.
Out toward outskirts of Birmingham. So not necessarily in Birmingham. It's close to the home of Bo Jackson. Sorry if I'm moving around. I forget that I'm showing a picture to you guys. But yeah, home of Bo Jackson, and I played at McAdory after he did. But that was one thing I was going to mention to you, because you bring up these topics sometimes, and I was like, oh man, I need to call in, but I just wouldn't have the chance. But you brought up like Carnell Williams, and got to play against him in high school.
Wow.
And if I still think that was him that I got the tackle on, but it was like a shoestring. He juked me so hard, and I just dove and just barely got him. That guy Carnell was phenomenal in high school.
But don't be ashamed, because he's done that to a fair amount of people.
I didn't. I wanted to get him, and I think I got him though. Like, even though he juked me bad, I think I got him. And I'm gonna say it was him, but it was Etowah, and it was the running back, and I'm pretty sure it was him. But anyway, it was heat of the moment. So much fun playing back in the days over here at McAdory. Played Phillip Rivers, my last high school football game at McAdory.
Man, you played everybody. Dang.
Those are, I'm just bringing up the top dogs, but there's other guys like McKinley Boykin on our football team, played for the Senate. Renewell Green for Texas A&M. Matt Caddell played for Alabama. Just a ton of people that blessed to be able to play. We were really talented. My body's paying for it till the day, having to hit these guys that I mentioned it to you. But sorry to get off topic.
You're good. No, I like hearing these type of stories. Let's close out with this though. Since you've played so many of the greats at Auburn, if there's one player at Auburn that you wish you could have played against, who would it be?
Ooh, that's good, man. That's good, because I have like a total lot of respect for so many players that played for Auburn, but one that made me just want to play the position and just dominate as though after the fact, but he just played just like I love playing the game. Was Junior Rose Green. That was my dog, man. The way he would just devastate people. I don't even have to bring up the Georgia game, but like just besides the Georgia hit he made on Brown that game, so many other just him. But be honest with you, if I thought about that a little bit more, even playing like Cam Newton, because I would take a ride, all day long, but it'd be fun ride. You at least say, I got to try to tackle Cam Newton or Bo Jack. I don't know if I want to tackle Bo Jackson though. There's a couple guys.
No.
He played at my high school, but he was from a different breed. There was something in his water different than what was in my water. That's for sure.
I think he's the only one who had access to that water. You remember that movie Space Jam, the secret stuff or what it was called? That's what the Cam juice is what Cam had him when he was here. It had the Bo juice.
The Bo special. My goodness, Bo knew it all, man. Bo was on top.
He did.
Bo, man. Kids don't realize it. He was in every generation type of right. He could play every.
Absolutely.
He was my favorite. 4.4140, isn't that right? Or was it 3.94? I think it was 3.740. Actually,
I think it was in the threes. I think because he broke a record at the time. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was.
Yeah, it was good to see you, Kyle. And
yes, sir.
And on the way out, just to ask you this, you don't have to answer it. I meant to call and talk about Auburn. I apologize, but
it's all right.
But yeah,
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, what do you this was just something off the top of my head. Who's the top two players? Because you're on the inside more than us guys. Who's your top two players in your mind on the team currently and incoming with this new class that are potential, like Carnell Williams, Bo Jackson, Cam Newton type players, like offense, defense, and it might take you a second to think about it because I've been thinking about it also, and obviously Tank would be a first, but after that it's kind of tough because
it is. Yeah, give me 2 seconds to think about it. We're actually going to pose the question to the whole room here and get some feedback from everybody on that. But I appreciate you calling in, though, Russell.
Great, sweet, love you guys, and War Eagle.
War Eagle, and thanks for that view.
Yeah, I'll try to do it more often, less of this and more of that.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
All right, bye. All right, you guys can answer right now that question there. I'd love to hear y'all's feedback too. Two players that you're expecting to be big names, I think, is, if I understood him correctly, is the question. Even if it's like two that just got here. My hope is that we're going to see a Jalen Simpson and Nehemiah Pritchett continue the defensive back field that we've created over the last couple of years and that prowess that we've had. So that's one I'm really kind of intrigued to see. And my hope is that maybe a Jalen Simpson is that next big guy. He's the next Roger McCreary that people saw flashes of brilliance of and will come out. Offensive wise, I got a really good feeling about Damari Alston, and there's no really reason other than just kind of a feeling. I really liked watching some of the videos that were out this spring with him working out with Tank and Tank taking him under his wing. I think Damari's got a bright future if we can get a good offensive line and a good offense behind him or around him to help support him. Those would be two players, one new and one that's been here but is kind of seizing opportunities that are given to him. Those would be two that I'd watch. But what else do you guys think? Please share that. Carrie, I'm actually going to stay on a little bit longer than I normally do on Wednesdays. I normally have to rush to go somewhere, but I'm not doing that tonight, so we'll stay on just a little bit longer. So if you'd like to call in, please do. I'll leave the phone lines open for a little bit more. Two players, I think, Robbie Ashford, Marquise Gilbert is my answer to the Russell question. Jay Fair will be good, and Camden Brown. I think the most opportunity is available at wide receiver, and that is where you would likely see a next big name arise out of because there's not really one established there yet, but we'll see. Thomas, Bo's official was 4.12. I think Sanders was 4.19. But didn't Bo have an unofficial time that was taken, but it wasn't an official timing that was in the threes? I swear I remember that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's never been a 3 and I'm just speculating. But there was something about Bo had a time that was like right before his official time that was, excuse me, that was a lot better. All right, we got another caller, one of our regulars, Mr. Kevin. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing, Kevin? There you are. How you doing, buddy? Got a little bit of a delay. Gotta love the internet. Can you hear me, Kevin? If my voice cracks.
I'm on. What's the matter with it?
War Eagle, Kevin. We got a little bit of delay, but we'll work through it. How are you doing?
I think tomorrow Austin might be the third running back this year.
Yeah, let's look at that. So you got Tank Bigsby, right? Jarquez, if he was healthy, would be number 2, but he's supposed to be ready to go, so we would suspect that maybe he's still number 2. You got what's his name? Oh, the guy that just got a scholarship. Oh, I'm blanking. I'm a terrible person for it. Anyway, somebody in the chat will bring his name up. But yes, didn't you have an opportunity for the third one to be Damari Alston? So I think that makes a lot of sense. We might have lost Kevin. Kevin, are you still there? All right, Kevin, call back in, buddy, if you can. It looks like we're having a little bit of internet problems, but I think that's a great point that Damari is probably going to be the third running back. It makes sense. All right, there he is. Let's try again. There you are. Can you hear me now?
Hey, War Eagle, can you see me?
I can see you now. That connection's a lot better. Can you see me? Uh-oh.
I think Damari Alston will be real good running the football.
I like watching those videos of him and Tank Bigsby together this past spring. I think that's a good sign for him in his maturation process to learn under the wing of a guy like Tank Bigsby.
Hopefully I can see you in person one of the Auburn football games this year.
I would love that, Kevin. Nothing more. I will always be at Tiger Walk, barring unforeseen circumstances. At the banner. So you just find the banner and you'll find the random guy with the camera equipment sitting there waiting to live stream Tiger Walk.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later, War Eagle.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for calling in, buddy. War Eagle. Had a little bit of connectivity issues there, but always good to hear from Kevin, who's one of our regulars here. All right, a couple more questions here. The phone line will stay open for a little bit longer. Have I ever met Harson? I have not. Hopefully will one day, but I'm not a traditional media member, so I don't get a lot of inside access. I appreciated Russell saying that, but I'm a little bit different than most other we are a little bit different from other media entities where we're trying to keep our focus mainly on the Auburn family and not just the athletes and the coaches. We talk about them obviously because that's what we all want to talk about, but our focus is on you, the Auburn family. So yes, that's when I brought that up to say that you won't hear me getting the big interviews, but there are. I've interviewed Andy Burcham, Sonny Smith, Jarris McIntyre, a lot of the old names I'd like to get on, and not old names, but not the current players and coaches. We can probably get on a few times, but our focus is on you, the Auburn family. Linda's going to the women's football camp on the 17th. Hope to get a lot of good info for all. I would love it. You need to call in, Linda. I'm trying to get Linda to call in, but she won't do it. You need to call in and give us the scoop after that. Braden Joyner, what could be a good 2023 offensive lineman? That's a great point to the question that was asked by Russell. If you want to look at a guy that has the opportunity to make the biggest impact on Auburn and leave a lasting legacy, Braden Joyner might be that guy. And that goes for Eston Harris, too, who just got here. Braden Joyner is the first of this new class of a necessity to rebuild an offensive line. And those two guys together, if Eston, redshirts this year and Braden maybe comes in and doesn't redshirt and they kind of grow into it together, they could be, one of those pair of names that we talk about running through offensive line together that really make a lasting impact. Brody, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Carrie, you're going to open up the wolves by asking that question. There are a lot of Bo haters out there. And those that aren't typing it, I'm just kidding. You can have your own opinions. Everybody's entitled to them, no matter how bad they stink. Do I think Bo will make it in the NFL? Based off what he's done now, no. But that's the great thing about having another year of opportunity and many more years of, well, hopefully, many more years of life to continue to grow and change and develop. So I will never say that a player can't make it in the NFL. If that were the case, Kurt Warner would still be stocking shelves in a grocery store and wouldn't be a Super Bowl MVP. So, yes, can he make it? Will he make it in the NFL? I don't know. Based off what I see now, it's a pretty uphill climb. But if he gets what I think he is going to take advantage of at Oregon, he might find himself on an NFL squad this year. A lot of official visits this month. Hopefully, Harse can land some big fellas. Everyone watch and support baseball this weekend. We didn't even talk about baseball. We did that yesterday, so it's to be understood. But you can feel the dynamic shifting with basketball fading into the distance a little bit outside of NBA draft talk, with baseball kind of getting closer to ending. Softball's done, golf's done, all the other stuff is done basically. Track and field's the only other thing that's going right now. Everybody's dial on football is starting to switch. And I can, there's these metrics that I follow on YouTube to kind of see what you guys like, you don't like, how we're performing, all that kind of thing. And you can always watch these things and see the dial switch when football starts becoming a prominent thing. Mid-July, it's going to kick up here. All right, let's see. How many years have you been watching? My entire life. But realistically, in terms of being like following it hardcore since I was like 13, 2000. That's the first year I remember specifically knowing everybody on the team, Rudy Johnson's year. But we'll make it to the NFL combine. But after that, who knows? I think he'll get to the combine. He'll need to get to the combine. But Bo's sky limit is up to him at this point. Did I go to the beach? No, I actually went to Disney World. I'm a big pop culture fan. There's another wall over here. I've said this before that you guys don't get to see. That's for another group of people. That's y'all's wall. I do a lot of YouTube and a lot of podcasting. It is my full-time job, so that's why I have two different aspects of it. But I will hopefully be going to the beach later this month. And if you want to know, even though it's not Auburn related, there's a lot of Auburn fans down there. Orange Beach. And I live up in the Atlanta area, so there's no beaches near me, but there's beaches somewhere close to Georgia. But I go to Alabama's beaches, Orange Beach and Gulf Shores. Bo will be a Pittsburgh Mauler. Well, at least he'll be in orange and blue again on a very terrible team. So it'll be like he just came back home. Did I say that? I didn't. How fast can I do the 40? You can't make me laugh right now while I'm dealing with my throat. Not well. I haven't timed myself in years, but it's bad. All right. Last minute comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals. Get them in right now. Smash the like button if you haven't. We're going to start winding down our show here. I am going to close down the phone lines for now, though. But get those last minute comments and questions in. A couple of reminders for you all. We already talked about it. That's the wrong thing to bring up there, Kyle. Booster Club. If you'd like to, check out the links in the description. You can join up there, get yourself some perks. When I have inside information, I don't get a lot of it, but I share some of it sometimes. Had some during the whole Bo thing and the whole Harsin thing. But other things, I share bloopers, I share inside information, I give access to nobody else, or to you guys on a different level that are part of the Booster Club. $1 a month is all it takes. If you don't want to do that, you can be part of the channel membership program. Just hit the join button here on YouTube. Same kind of thing, except it's all $1 a month and everybody gets the same thing there. But it is ways that you can help support our content, keep the lights on here, because we are primarily funded and kept running by you guys, because you are the best little family within the Auburn family. So check those links out in the description. Let's see here. 6. I saw you commenting earlier, Whit. Whit is my cousin. He has the same last name as me, so he likes to come on here and mess with me. Wit, I don't honestly think I can make a 6'12" 40. Let's see here. Did I go to the South Carolina game last year? No, I did not. I did not. Am I on Snapchat? No, I am not. You love the channel. Keep the good work. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. I do this because you show up. I do this because you all seem to, for some reason, enjoy it. And I enjoy doing it for you. So as long as those two things and the channel continues to grow and be a financially viable thing, we will continue to do this. And I appreciate it. And you can do that, help do that by just being here, leaving a comment, and sharing it with your friends and family. That's the biggest thing that you can do for us, for all of this. Appreciate that, Dusty. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I am going to take a leave, though, before my voice officially gives out. And we made it through the whole stream without me going too bad, fading off with the voice. So thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be getting back to a lot of our regularly scheduled content here as soon as I completely get back to my health. And stay tuned, as I'll be sharing some stuff from campus this weekend, as long as I continue to get better. And we'll be covering a lot of that stuff there. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Appreciate you. Love you all. Till next time, War Eagle.